In this video, we are going to go over how to solve percent problems. Before we look at solving some problems, let's get a better understanding of what percent means. The word percent means out of 100. For example, the grid below shows 100 boxes. If I want to shade 42% of that grid, this means that I want to shade 42 out of those 100 boxes, which you can see now in blue. There are three ways that I can represent the blue region, which is 42% of the large grid. One way is using a symbol. I can represent the percent, in this case 42, by writing the number 42 and then putting the percent symbol, which looks like that. I can also represent it as a fraction since percent does mean out of 100. So that's 42 out of 100ths boxes, so the fraction 42 over 100 represents 42%. And since we can convert fractions to decimals by taking 42 and dividing it by 100, I can also write percent as a decimal. Essentially, I'm just going to move the decimal point 2 spaces to the left to write 0.42. Now that we have an understanding of what percent means, let's look at a few examples that involve working with percents. For the first example, we're going to look at finding the percent of a number. So let's say you needed to calculate 20% of 85. To calculate the percent of a number, we're going to look at two different options. The first option uses the formula A equals R times B, where A is the amount, R is the rate written as a decimal, and B is the base. When we're looking for the amount, it's usually attached to the word is, and the base is attached to the word of. So if I want to use the formula A equals R times B to solve this problem, I want to find the amount. I know the rate is 20% and the base is 85. So I can go ahead and write the formula A equals R times B. Replace in my values, my rate was 0.2 and my base is 85. And now if I just do the multiplication, 0.2 times 85 gives me 17. So that means that 17 is 20% of 85. Now I could also use the proportion. Percent over 100 is equal to the amount over the base, or percent over 100 is equal to is over of. So if I read through my problem, I'm going to put 20 for percent, so 20 over 100 is equal to, since I want to find what is, I'm looking for x over, and then of 85, so 85. Using our properties of proportions, we'll cross multiply to solve, so 100x is equal to 20 times 85, which is 1700. And then solving for x by dividing both sides by 100, we'll get x is equal to 17. Notice we got the same answer regardless of which method we chose. You can decide which formula works best for you. Now let's look at another example of another type of problem where we might need to work with percents. In this case, I want to find out 5 is what percent of 8, so I need to determine the percentage. Again, I can use either option 1 or option 2 that we looked at on the previous screen. So let's go ahead and try both methods so that again we can decide which one we like better. For the first one, if I want to use A equals R times B, my amount is 5, my rate is what I'm missing, and my base of 8. Now if I want to solve for R, I need to divide both sides by 8. And then using a calculator, I'll take 5 and divide it by 8, which is approximately 0.625. And to get this to convert to percentage form, I'll multiply by 100 or move the decimal 2 spaces to the right. So my rate is 62.5%. Now again, you could also choose to use the proportion method to solve and find the missing percent. So if I want to try option 2, I'm looking for the percent out of 100, so x over 100 equals 5 over 8, because 5 is what percent of 8. Again, I'll cross multiply to get 8x equals 5 times 100, which is 500. Divide both sides by 8. And now x is equal to 62.5. And in this case, I already have the percent. So x is 62.5%. Again, notice, same answer, two different ways of working it out. Now, another question we might be asked when trying to determine percentages or work with percentages is to determine the part of a number given a percentage value. So let's look at our third type of problem that we can encounter. Let's say you want to find 45% of what number is 54. Again, we'll look at both options and solve the problem out. So let's say we choose option 1 and we want to use A equals R times B. For this problem, our amount is 54. Our rate is 45%, so we'll write it as a decimal, 0.45. And we're looking for our base. To solve for our base, we're going to divide both sides by 0.45. And then using a calculator, 54 divided by 0.45 is 120. So our base, the amount that we're looking for, was 120. Let's try the same problem using our proportion method. So in this case, we have 45%. So we're going to start by putting 45 over 100 equals, we know the is value is 54, and we're looking for the value that it's of, so that's my x. Again, using our properties of proportions, we'll cross multiply to solve. 45 times x is equal to 54 times 100, or 45x equals 5400. Divide both sides by 45, and then solve to find out that x again is 120. Now that we've looked at the three different types of problems you can encounter when working with percentages, I think you're ready to try a few on your own. As you go through, try to decide which method works better for you. You want to pause the video and practice the problems, and when you're ready, come back and check your answers. Here are the answers to the practice problems. I worked out the left side using the A equals R times B option, and I worked out the right-hand side using option 2, our proportion method. Again, you can choose whichever method you like better, and it doesn't matter which method you choose, we should still get the same answer.